Hey, you are most welcome, my non-viewers. A lot more viewers than some of the people that start their videos with this that I enjoy this. So hey guys, it's September 6th today, 2022, and no, that's not the moon because it's a half moon about now. Just at Tim Horton, I got up at 5 and woke up with a very well thought out list of priorities of things to do in the next little while, and want to write it down. I don't have to freak out if I forget one and don't write it down because I trust my mind. If it's important, it'll bring it back up, before it's too late. As a priority, that's kind of something I can count on now with a little discipline in my mind. A lot of people label me with a lot of different things, including one that I've gotten since I was young, which was also inaccurate. Well, I mean, or just what was the side effect of a crap? I used to like this table. The side effect of other things that people couldn't grasp or come up with, and the offshoot made it look like I was lazy, but it wasn't it. So even people think I'm lazy, even though, like, would a lazy person, like get up this early, try this hard with no reward? Would a lazy person not look for the path of least resistance, including dishonesty or scamming or telling of fibs and stories for this path of least resistance because of their laziness? It's never really been a pattern of mine, and it's been more obvious in the last few years, but only to somebody that can objectively evaluate my life. If somebody sees, how many paychecks are coming into my bank account as a way to decide if I'm lazy, and also because these people don't have the schemas to recognize behaviors that are altruistic, right? That include self-sacrifice and taking on hardships for a bigger cause than oneself. Yeah, they're going to think I'm playing mad, right? And that's kind of sad, and I can't connect with people like that, especially when they don't have a motivation to, and it's been proven for decades, to, take off their rose-colored glasses and commit to a day of listening, let's say. But for that, you got to care, right? You got to care about right and wrong. You got to care about other people. You got to care about not being reality compromised. You got to care about not infecting your loved ones with these same patterns, which is grown everywhere in the world astronomically, even in the last 10 years, most certainly in my lifetime. And these phenomena would not spread that quickly if not for dangerous things that we created because of our imposable thumbs way before we had the chance to work on the wisdom and the sentience. So our technology has worked against us, but we can't blame technology. Again, the root of all the problems in the Anthropocene are here, right? So it's not like, hey, we caused the Anthropocene because we invented computers, or this country uses this type of transportation or this type. No, it's all related to this. If we caused it as a species, the flaws are up here, and they're up here so deep now that I don't even think the surface is being used of our brain. I think the gray matter is like, it's going to die out. It's going to be more and more issues. So anyways, I wanted to say that the last few days, I came back from the flu, and I kind of woke up during the night, and like my comforter, it's not a real duvet, but I'll call it a duvet and a duvet cover, and they were wet, and my mattress was wet, and I thought, okay, it's just I'm fighting the flu, but no, last night was even worse, and I've been feeling better, so I know it's just the temperature at night, the humidity level, and I know, that winter will approach faster in this part of BC than I am compared to Vancouver Island, and it'll be more challenging for my health. So I know that it's not a good idea for me to procrastinate, which maybe a lazy person would do, and not take care of myself and role model that to others, even though people won't understand what I'm doing. And of course, it won't correlate to what a lazy person would do, because it's actually taking on even more hardships for the fact of acquiring long-term solutions. Lazy people usually don't take those strategies. So look, it's getting brighter outside. So what scared me even more is when I turned on my new computer here, or even before, as I grabbed it from my bag, which was inside my motorhome, and it was cold. And it quickly reminded me that this made my other laptop even worse, right? So now you would think, just find a place to park the motorhome where you can plug it in and, winterize it a tiny bit more if you want to, but you don't really have to if you got warm clothes to sleep at night, or wear during the day when you're inside it. You don't have to have full blast heat, and your motorhome can be 18 degrees inside and still be not hazardous to your health. In fact, it might be better than to be at 24 when the outside temperature is cold, the inside is warm. It might actually do more off-gassing or other breakdown of older chemicals that might hurt your health without, an air filtration system which access, the outside air. So, I found my throat has been a little bit dry for weird reasons. So I find, it's my health is already compromised on September 6th. And I have to take drastic measures in prioritizing things that other people won't understand. But it's, because they're not in those situations, right? They have allowed domestication in their life, and through that they have acquired some level of security and comfort of the winter that somebody that's not as self-serving would not have achieved. But it's okay, they can think I'm lazy if they want. So what I have to do is not at all try to find a place to plug it in, because last winter there's a lady I really liked and trusted me, an old lady, but she had her kids that, one in specific that wasn't easy to deal with, and puts pressure on her, or creates this worry in her, even though it wasn't just that she was getting paid from me to plug it in, is that I was bringing joy into her life. But again, some of the kids are worse than their parents a lot more in this generation than the generations before, because HSD has made it worse. When you domesticate your kids and then they get so good at it themselves to domesticate others, they'll domesticate you. They'll become your oppressors. You'll think they'll take care of you when you're older, but it might mean it'll be an abusive caregiver, so you don't have to pay the big bucks in the care homes to get an abusive caregiver. You can just go stay with your kids, right? So anyways, this lady was really nice. I don't know if she passed away now, because the last email bounced, and just the spouse of her kid, if I can call him that, responded with very little information, like usual. So I don't know. But anyways, it's not a place that I would want to go back anyways. And the person that I believe admired me enough not to screwed me in this location about an agreement we made to plug it in for maybe at least the cold months. Just didn't even last 24 hours or 36 hours. So, these are not chances I want to take with you, the people primates. Again, as a person that is capable of not surviving one day at a time, because I'm not just a lazy person, is I'm actually trying to think of long-term solutions in a way that won't have to keep solving these things every winter. So I know that I have no human friends in my life, no human relatives, no human community to belong to, and so I have to kind of do my best to not incorporate others that I might want to risk my health by counting on them for the fact of surviving this winter. Can you imagine, though, that if I was in a time when we didn't develop so much technology, and let's say I'd been raised, even in northern Americas, West Coast or not, to actually learn the skill sets with, a small tribe or a family, to survive winters and prepare for them. And there's chores we knew what to do this month, and of course, climate would have been more stable back then because we wouldn't have just kept getting worse up here, and create it and speed it up even more. Even when we're aware of it, we speed it up even more. But no, you're not a failed species, Mr. and Mrs. Homo communia. It's just me. I'm lazy. So anyways, if I had lived in those times, I would have been able to, let's say I had a moral dilemma with my relatives. I would have grown up to be a young man that could go out on his own and without thinking that there were supports out there, just know, hey, I have the skill sets, I can do this. And after one winter, develop the confidence. Second winter, probably have an animal friend or two as well as a companion, so not feel so alone. Because right now, having an animal friend is, domestication is not just of them, it's of us. So that means so many people create barriers for me to have succeeded at this and live in a society where I can have an animal friend without sitting on the sidewalk and begging and people wanting to give more dog food than people food because he's so cute or whatever. So anyways, this it would have been easy to have an animal friend in such a past society that would have been kind of more human, even though I may or may not have disagreed with family, or even not disagreed but wanted to go explore as a curious person and go other places and learn from other people, and hopefully find the people who also wanted to learn from other people but who may not be travelers, right? And it used to be that this was our schools, right? Our schools were what we learned, the basics, in our communities, and then the travelers brought, let's say, post-secondary education. But a lot of it is bullshit today, so a lot of it may have been bullshit back then, but maybe not as much, because I don't think those travelers would have been as successful. So that means some critical thinking skills would have been required, unless somebody never saw a traveler before, and it's like, oh man, we want to believe everything he says. Because let's say it's hard in the winter, and he's talking about this place where there's no winters, or whatever it is, they would have wanted to believe a lot of nonsense. And unfortunately, a critical thinker doesn't fall for that much. So this is what is going to happen in my life, and it's for my own survival. And it's, this computer I have, it's not even half paid. Not even close, actually. So I don't want it to fail because I couldn't keep it at the temperature it's supposed to be. And for me, it's a big part of what keeps me sane, And there's no addiction to it. And it's easy for me to forget about it if I'm in, let's say, getting a chance to have social interactions of quality. So, for me, it'll always still be secondary, but when you don't have the primary, when you don't have human connections, then yeah, it becomes my way of keep fulfilling my curiosity, of advocating for myself, of learning things I need to learn, because I don't belong to, let's say, relatives or a community that teaches me things I want or need to learn. So I go and find it myself, and I kind of do my best to screen out the good stuff and the bad stuff, and I think I've become better than average at it. And a lot of people can say this. Now, a lot of people also can say, Martin's lazy, and I can say I'm not lazy, and I can say people suffer from HSD. And they're missing the schemas and the critical thinking skills to understand my choices that I can explain. And I don't have to practice for days to explain. I just need somebody to ask and listen, and I can explain my choices. But again, I know they can incorporate the answer that's simple, and it doesn't require, being a rocket scientist, because it just requires grasping the concept that I've lived outside the norm for that long, and the chain of events of my life, have created this history. And that because I know that I don't want to suffer brain damage to become like them, really, as I want to continue on my path, and also at the same time learn skills that will reduce my hardships and reduce risks of my health deteriorating, especially at a slow speed, which is not something that a sane person would not consider in their strategies for life, even though that person is often surviving one day at a time. And it's not because that's my choice, it's because I live outside the norm. So, anyways, I want to say that I've been watching. Last night, I watched the fourth episode of Foundation on Apple TV. You kind of know which type of computer I have now, eh? And after I was very happy with the fourth, and I actually decided to watch the fifth right away after. And I didn't have the sixth, but I would have probably watched it. I want to say that again, there's a lot of changes from the original stories, which I've read about 7 times. There's a lot of changes in the characters, in the storylines, how they interact in time. And when you see the opening credits, you see based on novels by Isaac Asimov. So that doesn't mean like, okay, we're going to do the first novel, second, and it might even be novels from different same universe series. And so that'll be kind of interesting to surprise me in this way. And so I'm quite happy still. And there was a lot more fighting scenes in these latest episodes. And it's kind of weird because I thought maybe it wouldn't go there because it's characters that have ethics related to violence being the refute. What's the term again? Violence is the last resort, is the last refuge. I can't remember now, of the incompetent. And it is that still there's very little they could have done, and it's the first time attackers come in great numbers and things like that. So I don't think it means they're contradicting themselves. It means that it's the first time that they are, because without these attackers, they were treating each other very well. The people with these ideologies that they try to pass on. But when these attackers came with the passion for violence that they came with, it was hard to get out of that. But anyways, I'm curious to see how their philosophies will develop. I'm really still seeking what I'm afraid may also be missing in the upcoming Avatar movies is to really really having writers really work really hard to almost have a grand awakening in their minds just at the time that they're writing stuff, and just make it apparent that they're writing about a species or a time when we're more evolved, a different species or a time when we are more evolved. It's really what I crave. It'd be nice to see that hope that some author came up with a way to write something that shows, hey, there was hope for me in that episode, and it's because there was a writer, whichever one, whether they're conscious of it or not, which demonstrated higher level wisdom in interactions with these characters. I'd love to see that. And, okay, that was my 6 o'clock alarm because I have an appointment to finish fixing something on my motorhome that is still on warranty. So anyways, I wanted to say this, but I wanted to say more about the strategies that I'm noticing in Foundation series, and I guess I'll have to talk about it more next time. So I'm happy about that, the series. It's something I've known about for a long time. I knew the rights were sold. Janet Asimov told me, and they were sold here and there, and finally I heard the Apple series, was going to do it in production with somebody else, and that Robin Asimov was going to be, I think, co-producer. And so I knew this years ago, and it's nice to finally be able to give myself this little reward as I finish a time of my life where I'm also approaching a 20-year anniversary of learning about myself while I learned about others, and coming up with great achievements in my life that others cannot see, that have never been done before, but that make me proud. So I'm happy to be celebrating this because in less than a week, it's the 20-year anniversary of when I first left. Well, the anniversary is right now because I was traveling through Canada going west 20 years ago. And now I'm 5 days away from the anniversary of when I arrived on Vancouver Island, not knowing anybody, not having a job, not having a place to stay. and being that far from relatives that I knew wouldn't offer me the kind of help that I needed anyways. And I had so much less skill sets and so less a resilient brain back then and so less understanding of how my brain worked and that of others. And yet I did it. So now, even though you guys as a norm are getting worse, I'm also becoming a lot better. And so I'm applying these strategies, and one of my rewards for my hard work of the last 20 years, for being what appeared to be a lazy person, is actually to watch this foundation series, and I'm going to talk about it some more.